Today we are going to discuss very tragic events that are still happening on a daily basis, mainly in the West and other parts of the world which are under the control of Western capitals and its media, namely the brainwashing of people and to what extent it actually is. And we're going to use my comment section from TikTok right here. It might be also a little bit funny, but when you think of it, it is also very, very sad that people can really think that way. But this is exactly what the Western media is doing. A lot of times they projecting a certain narrative in your head, and often very, very well done without saying, right? So this person says, many Chinese are ignorant about what's happening in China. The local media in China does not even report on every major disaster or acts of violence that happens in the local province. And that's totally not true. I mean, how can people even remotely think like that? And if you know Fracta Special that this person calls himself arrogantly, how do you call yourself special? But anyway, this is your favorite half Chinese. I'm not sure if I already said that. This is extremely ignorant, especially in 2026. If it was before the internet time, you might have some excuse of saying, well, they only have their books, etc., like we had in the West. And if you wanted to know something about another country, you should travel to another country to see it with your own eyes, to be able to really debunk what the newspapers and news outlets actually were telling us. But now times have changed. There's internet all over China. Even in mountains, they have 5G. The coverage is even better than in most countries in the West and way, way faster. And now you come with, oh, but there is a firewall. The firewall is not to keep people from the internet. It is to keep businesses who are not desirable or not allowed to do business in China to be able to do that. All Chinese that want to go on the internet all over the world, they are using a VPN, which, by the way, is legal. The Chinese people in China most of the time are more knowingly about what's going on in the world than you are about China. You act like they literally don't know how to use a computer. They are the most advanced right now when it comes to the internet kind of things. They're all over. Why do you think there's so many Chinese from the mainland on YouTube all of a sudden? It's just ridiculous to even remotely think that they don't know how to get on Twitter, that they never heard about Twitter. They heard of it. They're also speaking with other Americans and other Westerners from Europe all over the world, with Africans, with South Americans, with all sorts of people on their own app, RedNote, when they had a huge migration of people from most of the time the West, went over there because they were afraid that TikTok would have been banned. How can you be so ignorant to say something like that? They know what you are saying. You can go on the internet and they are literally making fun of us that we are thinking that, oh, they have a social credit score and they're not allowed to cross a red light or these kind of nonsense. They literally are making videos about us, trolling us. They're making videos about Trump, trolling him. If they wouldn't know anything about us, how would they even know Trump? It's so insane to think. And if they do come on our internet, and which you definitely would know if you would be on their internet, then how can they not know what you know about China? It's so weird, right? To say that many Chinese are ignorant, blah, blah, blah. No, they're not. They are more educated, especially about their own country, than you are. And most likely they are more educated about your country than you are about them. And the reason why? Because if you know anything of Chinese people, if, for example, I would go to China, the people would ask me like an interrogation because I'm half. But if you're even not half, but maybe you look totally different, they will interrogate you, have all sorts of questions about your country, what you eat, what you like, etc., etc. What do you mean? They're not like you, who just think in a certain way and never will change, and then go and lecture those people about their lives, about their country, about their families. That's not how Chinese are. Chinese are extremely, extremely, how do you call it, curious. God. So I replied to him, most Westerners are ignorant of what is going on in China and the rest of the world, as we constantly are being lied to by our media. You obviously don't watch Chinese media. Go watch it first and then come back and debate. And this is something that all these people should actually go and do. So you can know and see for your own, with your own eyes, and hear with your own ears what is really being said and what is not being said. It is ridiculous. And yes, not every single event is being reported, but all the major events and disasters are being reported. How can you not report on a disaster? That's so ignorant. How can you not report on great acts of violence if you need to protect your people? Like what? That's so insane. And don't you think the Chinese have the same thing? Like they're walking with their telephone everywhere. I think they're shooting more videos than we do in the West. Just honestly, do we see how the mindset of these people have been so subjugated into thinking that Chinese people cannot know what is going on in China? If they don't know, the Chinese people that don't know what's going on in China, you know who they are? They're sleeping 6 feet deep because they are dead. They cannot experience. The live ones are just normal human beings like you and me. They can experience, they can read, think, and hear for themselves. Something that you should learn. And then he is, sure, there's not enough reporting of events such as mass stabbings, cars that recklessly run over people, and the constantly factory fires in China. But what can you expect from a country that doesn't allow free journalism at all? This is so ignorant. It's talking about, I believe, events that even I covered using Chinese media. But yeah, obviously they do cover these kind of things. I know there was, I remember something about that car that the people in the West were saying that it was not covered. It was literally covered. So I said, actually, they do report on that. And that is exactly how I know about the Uyghurs that did that in Xinjiang. Yes, there was a mass stabbing in Xinjiang. I believe it was at the railroad. Was it Urumqi? I think it was Urumqi, yeah. I'm not sure how many people lost their lives. And yeah. And then he says, I am talking about journalism, not CCP propaganda with happy dancing and pork-eating Uyghurs. Wow. And you're talking about propaganda about happy dancing Uyghurs and pork-eating Uyghurs. Like, you just saying that is just literally repeating Western propaganda. With the whole narrative that Uyghurs cannot be happy dancing. Do you know that their culture has specific dances and that they actually like to do it? But oh no, China has banned their culture, right? And then forced them to exhibit their culture to make other people believe that they still have their culture, right? This is what you believe. This is a typical thing that we have so many times in the West. Yes, hold on. So these are the type of people that believe things like this, like Radio Free Asia says, Uyghurs celebrate Eid in Western China's Xinjiang region. A source told RFA the Chinese authorities forced Uyghurs to celebrate the Muslim holiday to show that Uyghurs enjoy religious freedom. So they want you to believe that they are not allowed to celebrate their Islamic holidays, and then after they're not allowed, the government will force them to celebrate those exact same holidays that they are not allowed to have, to show that Uyghurs enjoy religious freedom. Because that's essentially what he is meaning with, oh, it's propaganda, the dancing Uyghurs and those who eat pork. There are many Uyghurs that eat pork. There are many Uyghurs that drink. But every time when you see a video of them in a bar or in a club or in a karaoke, what millions, if not billions of people do in the rest of the world, when it considers Uyghurs, they must have been forced. It cannot become more idiotic than that. Not all Uyghurs are Muslim. In fact, they have their own very distinct culture, which involves these exact dances, what you're talking about. But according to you, they must have been forced to spread propaganda. But actually, they're not allowed to do it, only when forced. Wow. You cannot be more stupid than that. Please, please wake up. So that was the kind of video that this person likes to believe. Forced, not allowed to do that. It is illegal, and then force you to do that. Come on. And then I said, no, you're talking propaganda now yourself. It's evident that you have no idea about Chinese news. The more you say, the more it is clear. By the way, what is wrong with eating pork? Oh, not all Uyghurs are Muslim. In fact, for a very long period, they were not even Muslims. They have their own distinctive culture, which, by the way, is protected by China. Go see the UNESCO. While your Western media says the opposite without evidence, and yet here you are talking about China like you know better than us. Then what about me, sunshine? I'm half Chinese, grew up in the West, consuming the exact same media as you and Chinese media, not to mention having the experience and family and friends in China. Yet here you are lecturing others while lacking all that. It is a bit arrogant, don't you think? But hey, if you want to stay in your bubble, it's fine. Comfy. Oh, yeah. I get it, but it won't enlighten you. Have you seen the amount of videos I make of the lies of Western media regarding China? Maybe that is time for you to wake up. And then this person, they come with the good old one like it actually means something. Most of your videos just highlight the same topics as other CCP propagandists. Unfortunately, China gets away too easily with its bad demeanors against other countries. I get you hate growing up in Dutchland and now want some kind of revenge, but that's no excuse of defending oppression against non-Chinese minorities. What? Now I'm being accused of oppressing non-Chinese minorities? What? I literally live in the Netherlands. What is going on? I stand up for other ethnic groups. What is wrong with these kind of people? Like, how can you be brainwashed like that? They're making all these kind of things up. I hope one day is what I say. I hope one day you open your eyes and free your beautiful brain. You obviously have no idea about China. I get that. Instead of attacking me as a person with buzzwords, phrases, CCP propaganda, whatever, that is, and all your assumptions based on your prejudices prove me wrong on real tangible issues. There's nothing you can disprove. And then this person is here. Lol, I know plenty of China and would never dream of hiding all the bad things caused by the CCP just because it profit and lust for revenge at your society. Not sure what that really means. And then I say, your comment shows how little your knowledge is about China. Sorry, we as Chinese, including the Chinese diaspora, would not agree with you. But hey, how would we possibly know, right? I mean, we are Chinese, so we can't possibly understand China better than you. By the way, answer this question. What exactly is CCP? You keep mentioning. Yes, if anybody knows me, then they know I like to fishing, and this is my fishing expedition. So this person says, here we go. You know very well what the CCP is. It was even used by CCP media until the Wuhan flu hit the world. No need to pretend to be dumber than you really are, since it's obvious anyone with slight knowledge of China and the CCP that you are a propagandist. And then I just ask you what CCP is. It is a normal question. Why don't you define it? Since you seem to know so much about China, educate me. What is CCP? And then this person says, all propagandists claim to not know what the CCP is. This is something you propagandists have been pushing since COVID. If you know as much as you claim about China, then you know what the CCP is. And then a clown emoji. Then tell me what CCP is, why you keep diverting, why you can't answer. And then this person says, why do you pretend that you don't know what the CCP is? All the other propagandists know. That doesn't... Oh, right. And then he just will not answer me on what CCP is. The reason why I ask, because there's no such thing as CCP in China. Every single time when you hear CCP, you know it is about people whose minds have been subjugated by Western propaganda, thinking there is a thing in China called the Chinese Communist Party, which there is not. This is the whole problem that I have with these people. Can you understand this? Propagating about some CCP, some Chinese Communist Party, which literally does not exist in China, while at the same time in the same comment is telling other Chinese people that we should know. What? For the people who still don't get it, honestly, there is no such thing as CCP. There's no Chinese Communist Party. There's a Communist Party of China, not Chinese Communist Party. It does not exist. And all of you who is using that term actually is showing to Chinese people that you do not have basic knowledge and therefore do not qualify to even insert you in these more difficult conversations about certain topics about China. What it tells us is that you actually should be coming to us and asking us about these kind of matters instead of lecturing us about how China is and how it operates. Because CCP only exists in the minds of the brainwashed. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this little conversation that I had in my comment section. But it is also very sad at the same time to see how actually brainwashed these people are. And there's no conversation to be had with these kind of people because their mind is already set. And as you can see, oh yes, you Chinese don't know because the news is not telling you, thinking that we cannot go on the internet. And when it comes to me, then all of a sudden I'm just speaking propaganda. Why would I do that? Especially for me as a Chinese diaspora, if I knew that China was so horrible and I have family living there and friends having there, wouldn't I speak up just for their sake? I mean, seriously. It's so ridiculous to even remotely think that so many Chinese are speaking against these kind of narratives and then just label them as propagandists because they actually are trying to convince you of the truth. But the minds already have been subjugated by certain measures, because if you are Chinese, then either you are a CCP spy, or you are a propagandist, or you are being paid, or you are scared, or you have been brainwashed, or you don't know because the news in China, they will not show you anything. So what does it actually mean? It means that if you think like that, there is no way anymore to change that narrative that they already have. And this is how successfully the West have been mass brainwashing its own people. This is not only with the Chinese people, it also is with when it regards the Muslims, but then they have some other things. But they have also the brainwash thing and also these kind of things and being scared, etc., etc. So nobody can go against your narrative, and your narrative can never change unless it is bad. Do we understand now what is actually going on? Anyway, let me know what you all think of this in the comment section, but please keep it respectful, not uncivilized barbarians. Unlike some others, please like, share, and if you have not yet, then follow. And as always, have a great day, your favorite half Chinese.